Water contamination is now on the minds of every American in light of the developments in Michigan. The states of Alabama, Louisiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Indiana, they're all reporting extensive exposure to lead poisoning, in some cases greater than what has been measured in Flint, Michigan. And now many want more reporting on the issue and more regulation, especially at the federal level. So how safe is our water tonight? For more, let's turn to our newsroom and turn to Simone Del Rosario in our newsroom for more on this story. Simone, other states now are reporting some high levels. What does this mean? How did we get to this point?
Well, if there's one thing, Ed, about this disaster in Flint, it's that it's drawing attention to the issue nationwide and causing a lot more people to take a closer look at their drinking water. You mentioned several states where children may have lead poisoning at higher rates than Flint. Here's a look at those counties. At the top, Houston County, Alabama, tested 12 children for lead poisoning in 2014. 7 of them came back positive. I know it's a small sample size, but still, that's 58%. Fact is, though, we still know so little about lead poisoning on a national level, and that's because only half of the country's counties even report lead poisoning data to the CDC. It's actually not required. But lead should be just one of our concerns when it comes to the water we drink. Here's a pretty scary look at the toxins they regularly find in our drinking water. Along with lead, there's arsenic, fluoride, chlorine, mercury, dioxin, which is known to increase chances of cancer, PCBs, DDT and HCP, those are pesticides linked to diabetes and cancer, perchlorate used in rocket fuel and explosives, and MTBE, an additive for gasoline.
You know, Simone, the big question also is infrastructure. We've had a big conversation in this country about no investments. We're talking water treatment plants. Is that conversation going to come up in these states now?
Oh, of course it'll come up in this now, because those toxins that I mentioned, they're not an exhaustive list. They are just a handful. When you talk about water treatment, you ask, how can these toxins even get into the water if they are being treated? Fact is, the U.S. does not require that a lot of these chemicals are actually removed from drinking water. Regulations require that those that are deemed toxic be reduced as much as possible, not removed. And states, if they had the sort of filtration system that would cause them to be removed to the level that would actually remove them from the drinking water, that would cost states a fortune. So you're finding a lot of states that are kind of meeting those bare minimum requirements set forth by federal regulations to be able to meet the standard, but still these toxins slip through. Now, what some scientists are also concerned about is that we do not know much about the low levels and the long-term effects of having low levels of toxins in our water. So even though they meet minimum federal regulations, they don't know what the long-term effects are of these low levels in our drinking water. So it's kind of the same thing, Ed, over and over again. The water's deemed safe until it's not. So
we're seeing a failure of the system in a number of different regions in this country. It's not Flint, it's not just Michigan, it's other parts of the country, which is going to open up a big discussion here in Washington about the power of the Environmental Protection Agency. Simone, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Late breaking tonight, a water warning in Newark you need to know about. City officials say it has unsafe levels of lead. If you drink it, it can make you sick. It's especially dangerous for babies, children, and pregnant women.
Well, some more troubling news tonight about the water in our children's schools.
Boston school officials say they have found unacceptable levels of lead in the water of seven more schools. So let's get right over to Christina Hager. She's live in Brighton tonight. Christina?
Well, Kate, school officials say they'll be bringing in bottled water at schools like this for when students and staff return in several weeks. These troubling new lead results turned up as a result of Boston's new water policy. And now the fountains are being shut off at all schools where lead turned up.
No water coming from the drinking fountain in Jeremiah Burke High School. In the bathroom, signs tell visitors not to drink the sink water. This after a new round of tests shows lead in the water. Boston School Superintendent Tommy Chang sent this letter to school communities saying 7 schools in 6 school buildings had at least one water fountain with lead concentrations that exceeded the federal action level. of 15 parts per billion. Not only Jeremiah Burke, but Dearborn STEM Academy housed on the top floor. Also Lee Academy in Dorchester, Josiah Quincy in Chinatown, F. Lyman Winship in Brighton, Boston Latin, and Patrick Linden in West Roxbury. All schools where the water tested safe back in the spring.
New this morning, water concerns for hundreds of thousands of people here in Massachusetts. A new report about the state's groundwater just being released. WBZ's Anna Myler is live in Jamaica Plain with what you need to know this morning. Anna.
And Chris, this is one of the places you can have your water tested in Massachusetts. And according to the Boston Globe, a new report shows if you use a private well, you should have your tap water tested for lead. About 90% of the state's groundwater is potentially corrosive.
Good afternoon. I'm Rob Johnson. Erica is off today, 1 week before school starts, and dozens of children in East Chicago, Indiana, are learning they'll have to go somewhere else. There are safety concerns at their current elementary school, so it's shutting down. CBS 2's Dorothy Tucker is live outside of Carrie Gosh Elementary School in East Chicago. Dorothy.
Where 430 students were supposed to walk through those doors on Monday morning. Instead, those doors will be closed. East Chicago School Superintendent Paige Manelti just delivered the news to surprise families.
All right, Flint, Michigan isn't the only city dealing with lead-tainted water. Portland is dealing with that as well after new water tests showed high lead levels in at least 75 Portland schools. Parents and teachers are now outraged.
You should be ashamed of yourself!
Yeah. We've been all drinking gallons and gallons of sink water because we didn't know.
The federal standard is 15 parts per billion. One school showed more than 300 parts per billion. Wow. The district's temporary fix is to supply bottled water for the rest of the school year. No word yet on a permanent solution here.
Look as close as you like. You wouldn't see any signs of it, even though it's been here for more than a decade. It's called dioxin, a dangerous poison. And there are signs of it, starting today. County workers are making clear what the state health department has known since 1990. Fish and crabs caught in this part of the Houston Ship Channel are tainted with industrial chemicals.
Say, man, I wouldn't want anything to come out of that water. Cut the lights off at night, it'd probably glow in the dark.
Herman Haley drops his trash into a garbage can, but he's pretty sure there are Channel Industries disposing of some of their waste products in the drink.
Any of these companies could dump anything they want in the water, and no one would ever know until the toxin level got so high people start getting hurt.
These banks are dense with heavy industry, these waterways crowded with ship traffic, yet many people still choose this spot to catch a meal. The warning starts at the Lynchburg Ferry, extending past Galveston Bay. Dioxin, after all, is known to cause cancer. It can be found in almost all fish and crabs in this water.
I imagine I wouldn't be surprised at all if this happened quite a bit and people just don't even know.
So if you believe fish are what they eat, then the same holds true of us.
I do my best fishing at the fish markets. I never come home empty-handed.
Safety of the water at schools and across HISD.
And this is something that parents may especially be interested to know since school starts in less than 2 weeks.
That's right. We told you last month the school district plans to test for lead. Well, tonight a group of HISD workers are calling on the district to go one big step further.
Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willey is live now with the story. Jessica?
Yeah, Melanie, the water at only a handful of HISD schools has been tested so far. Poe Elementary, built way before the 1986 lead ban, is not one of them. HISD workers want bottled water available here and at hundreds of other schools.
It's no secret many HISD schools are old. Love Elementary is almost 100 years old, which means its plumbing and water fountains are old too. Potential exposure to lead. Oral Fitzsimmons represents more than 500 HISD support staff.
In June, he asked the school board to test the water at all of HISD's 283 schools for lead. Only 5 have been done. Tomorrow, he plans to ask the district to supply bottled water at the remaining 278 schools until testing is complete.
We need to be proactive instead of reactive to this issue. It's only the health of our children we're talking about.
In response to that request, HISD told us all HISD schools that were tested had acceptable water samples. There are no plans to use bottled water. HISD is working closely with the city of Houston and has not found any evidence to indicate the need for bottled water. Talk of testing came after the water crisis in Flint, Michigan was uncovered. Thousands of children exposed to lead. HISD says lead testing will begin August 30th. Elementary schools will be tested first. In the meantime, this from Fitzsimmons.
So would you say don't drink the water in HISD schools? That's exactly what I would say. Don't drink the water.
California's Central Valley. 1/4 of the nation's food is grown here. The state's record-breaking drought has been tough on farmers and families. But there's growing concern not just about the water, but what's in it.
It said that the water had a high uranium, but that it was okay. That it was okay to drink, that you didn't have to boil it. But it also said that if you drink it over a long period of time, you might get cancer.
Recent studies by the U.S. Geological Survey found increasingly dangerous levels of uranium in the groundwater of the Central Valley. The same radioactive and toxic element used for nuclear fuel and atom bombs.
It's your man, Dr. Hawkins, president of Ancient Water Restoration, and of course, Hip Hop Therapeutics. The video that you're watching about the water crisis in America is very shocking. Now, there is a way out. My company specializes in very advanced water purification systems and water filtration systems. The water filters that we utilize are certified space technologies that were funded by and created for organizations like NASA. The ultra-rich and well-to-do use these water filters to purify their own water. Because you got to know, with all the chemtrails and other pollutants, the water is shot. So they use these means to purify their water so they don't have to worry about it. I'm making these systems available to you. As you can see right here, what I have is a 3-stage countertop system. Some of you are looking to have systems installed underneath your sink. Well, you can have them on your countertop as well. Again, we have 3-stage systems, and we also have 2-stage systems. Now, all you have to do is plug this into your sink. That's it. Okay? The whole process of installation takes less than 1 minute. Both forms of lead are highly toxic. So this heavy-duty filter here will cost a little bit extra if you want it installed in your system, but it's well worth it. Now, this is the absolute best filter on the planet. And it's obviously the best one that you could use to purify your water. Now, ideally, this system here, for a 2-stage whole house filtration system, these 2 filters here would make your best choice. All right. Now, this filtration method here, these 2, is also very, very good. But keep in mind, the NASA filter is going to take out everything. It's going to take out everything. But you want to extend the life of it as long as possible with an excellent pre-filter. This here are the NASA super filters. This here is the leading filter on the market outside of the NASA super filters. And I'm going to show you just how effective this filter is. This is 2 nanometer ink. And 2 nanometers is smaller than a virus. And what you're about to witness is the NASA superfilter filter out these ink particles and trap them in the filter like it did here. Now, I did this demonstration earlier, and as you can see, there is that ink circle within the filter cartridge itself. And notice something else. The water is not turning blue, and that is because it captured the particles, the cartridge did, and it's not releasing them back into the water. It does the same thing with viruses and bacteria. It retains them, it traps them, and keeps them trapped. So now, let's get into this. Here we go. Now I'm going to bring this closer so you can see that. Now, let's see what the ink cartridge looks like. As you can see, it retained all of that ink. There you go.
Just how safe is the drinking water in Los Angeles area schools? Tonight, the NBC4i team uncovers disturbing evidence that some water might still be contaminated. All this comes 7 years after an award-winning I-team investigation revealed high amounts of toxic lead in water from many drinking fountains. Our investigative reporter Joel Grover found that the district broke promises to fix the water problem, leaving thousands of children at risk.
The danger is invisible. Tiny particles of toxic lead that can cause damage to the brain and other organs.
Thousands of children could be drinking water with an unsafe amount of lead.
It was in 2008 that the I-team tested LA's school drinking water and found levels of lead up to 426 times what the government says is safe.
Michigan Governor Rick Snyder testifies before Congress this morning about lead contamination in Flint's drinking water. But a new investigation by the USA Today network is raising questions this morning about tap water nationwide. The report identified nearly 2,000 water systems used by 6 million people where excessive levels of lead were detected in the past 4 years.
Problems here are not isolated. More than 20 million people across the country get their water through lead pipes. Courtney Meritage says she might swear off tap water for good for the sake of her 7-month-old daughter, Autumn.
Just seems like everyone's having water problems.
Lead was detected in the drinking water in August, but residents weren't notified until January.
It does bother me because why wouldn't they get it out sooner? Why wouldn't they tell us, especially for people with babies?
The best way to solve that problem is to simply get the lead out.
LaFrancis Group says there are still 6.1 million lead lines in use, serving up to 22 million people, and that it could take as much as $30 billion to replace them all.
We begin today in Florida, where environmental officials have confirmed that one of the state's nuclear power plants is a contributing threat to well fields millions of people rely on for drinking water.
This is not how Ben Cook was planning to spend his day.
So how long have you been looking for water?
A couple days. It seems I go to like Kroger and other stuff, and every time I get there, I just miss it.
But Ben, along with 300,000 residents of Charleston, West Virginia, is now scrambling to get his hands on one of the most basic elements of life. A chemical spill from a local company forced Governor Earl Ray Tomblin to make an unprecedented decision.
Do not use any of the water with the exception of using it to flush the commodes or for fire protection.
Now local authorities are teaming up with FEMA, the Department of Homeland Security, and the National Guard to get this crisis under control. Pallets of water are coming in by the truckload.
Come on, buddy.
Fire garages, normally used to house the station's trucks, have turned into distribution drive-thrus.
Have a good day, sir.
Outside, a line of cars as far as the eye can see.
I didn't have but 2 bottles the first day, and I ain't gotten none since until this.
Those who can't drive walk to the station. Everyone just trying to get their hands on a case of water.
It's nonstop. Every time we bring a truck in, it's pretty much gone just as quick as we can get cars through here, and they're still coming.
Within minutes of arriving.
How many you got? I got 2 here.
One more. Yeah, you're right. One more.
You guys are the last case. That's the last one, honey. We're out. No more. We're out.
The water has completely vanished. Fire Station 2 closes its garage door and waits for the next shipment to arrive.
We got here maybe about 20 minutes ago. I kind of cut in as we was coming out of the parking lot right here because I think they're backed up all the way down Washington Street. So, I mean, it's just horrible.
Angry residents want to know how this happened.
There's nothing, no plans, no preparation whatsoever to deal with this type of an emergency, except for people to come begging for water. Hopefully keeping their family alive. Except for people to come begging for water. Hopefully keeping their family alive. No plans, no preparation whatsoever to deal with this type of an emergency, except for people to come begging for water.
It is not the quantity of water, but the quality of it that's a problem in Newark, New Jersey. This week, water fountains were shut down in city schools due to lead contamination. As Jerika Duncan reports, evidence suggests officials knew about this problem. For years.
A memo from the district sent on August 30th of 2014 mandates all schools run and flush each water fountain for 2 minutes daily before school opens. The same steps applied for cafeteria faucets prior to food prep usage. And principals were instructed to tell students and staff to run fountains for at least 30 seconds before drinking the water. Annual water contamination tests at Newark's public schools were conducted between December and February. On Wednesday, the district turned off water at 30 schools after results revealed unsafe lead levels. Evelise Mency's son attends one of them.
I send my son to school every day to be safe. This is his safe haven, and then lead is in his water.
Lead in drinking water should not exceed 15 parts per billion. At Bard High School, one sample had 558. Branch Brook Elementary, 194, while another elementary school tested at 193. Sabrina Oliver says her children's school was impacted.
It's water. I mean, I never thought the water was good in Newark anyways, but that's alarming.
The use of the water is just absolutely terrible and unbearable. It's so bad that we cannot use it at our house.
I would say I spend at least $100 to $125 a month on water. This is how we do. This is how I wash my meat. It's crazy. It drives you crazy, at least. I don't cook with the water, and I don't drink the water. It was rusted, and it kind of eating off my back of my sink.
This isn't the bathtub rusting. This is rust from the water that has stuck to the tub.
Whenever I first moved into the rectory of the Episcopal Church here, there was a note on the refrigerator that said, "Don't drink the water." And our welcoming gift was a case of bottled water. So I said, well, surely it can't be that bad, and I turned it on and it came out yellow.
When we look into the fact that the water color is changing, one is the source out of the ground that comes out has quite a bit of iron in it. Iron discolors water. The levels that we're seeing here would not impact their health negatively. It's not like lead where it accumulates in your body from the water, but I wouldn't choose to drink it just because it's not clear. So I don't disagree with them that they should want clear water.
Well, do you know what's in your drinking water? A shocking Associated Press investigation found various pharmaceuticals in the drinking supplies of at least 41 million Americans. Tainted water was found from New Jersey to California.
Radioactive tritium is leaking from 3/4 of all U.S. commercial nuclear power sites. The cancer-causing material often seeps into groundwater from corroded, buried piping. That's what the Associated Press concluded after a year-long investigation.
The policy that's in place right now is leak first, fix later. And that compromises the public health and safety, and it also violates the conditions to which these plants were originally licensed.